The PSVR 2 is portable, unexpectedly light. When I put on the PlayStation VR 2, Sony's next immersive headset for the PlayStation 5, which is still not widely available, the first thing that strikes me is how nothing at all it feels in comparison to the well-liked Meta Quest 2. I then became aware of another significant development. My hand glides over dangling plants as I ride down a river through sun-dappled trees in the land of horizon call of the mountain and witness a giant, brachiosaurus-sized tallneck march its mechanical robot legs over me. They barely brush up against me. On the PSVR 2 Sense controllers, there are slight vibrations that go unnoticed. However, I feel the tallneck's rumblings all over my skull in addition to via my hands. There is haptics in this headset. I spent the entire day with the headset at Sony's PlayStation headquarters in San Mateo, California, which I had been wanting to try for more than a year. The HTC Vive and Oculus Rift emerged in 2016, the same year that Sony released its first PlayStation VR, with Meta preparing new consumer headsets after a Pro model anticipated in late 2022, and Apple's long-anticipated headgear next year may end up being a similarly significant one for VR. If you already own a PlayStation 5, the PlayStation VR 2 is one of the top options. The PlayStation VR 2's price, release date beyond early 2023, list of launch titles, and other details are still unknown, but over the course of a day, I did get to play 4 games and test out the headset for hours, and I was impressed. Like the Quest 2, the PSVR 2 is not a standalone, self-contained gadget. Instead, it uses a USB-C cable to attach to the PlayStation 5. Although some individuals might find that off-putting, it's still the norm for PC VR gaming. The PSVR 2's one-cable setup is much easier to use than the original PSVR's larger breakout box, and it doesn't require any additional tracking cameras. Full-room walkabouts are possible with 4 in-headset cameras if the cable is long enough. Like the Quest, there's also pass-through black and white footage showing the area around me. Similar to the initial PSVR, the visor-like headset fastens by pulling out the rear when you press a button to fit over your head and then tightening it with a little knob on the back. A little light-blocking rubber shield surrounds the display. With the PSVR 2, my wide spectacles, which are difficult to put into a Quest 2, function quite nicely. The OLED display's field of view is 110 degrees broader than the Quest 2's, and it appears less like a porthole from the inside. Additionally, the display has brilliant colors, true blacks, and HDR features that bring out the contrast between bright sunshine and shadowy areas. I noticed that the objects and textures in several of the games I played had surprisingly high levels of detail. In addition to having a better resolution than the Quest 2, the PlayStation 5's per-eye display has a much higher graphical capacity. Additionally, this headset uses eye tracking for foveated rendering. By using a technique called focalized rendering, only the central portion of the scene is depicted in the highest level of detail. It somewhat replicates how our eyes truly function and can boost graphics performance by lightening the burden on the processor. In essence, it means that the games I played had really great graphics. Sony has now produced a set of authentic VR controllers. Only 6 years were needed. They could possibly be my current favorite VR controllers. The PSVR 2's controllers, simply referred to as Sense, have a design influenced by more modern input devices like the Oculus Touch. Unlike the 2016 PSVR's older PlayStation Move controllers that lacked analog sticks and appeared rudimentary in comparison to other VR equipment, which one has a smaller layout than the Quest 2 controllers, with just an analog stick and 2 buttons. On each are triggers, and below those are secondary clickable grip buttons. The rings that are part of the controller's design sit back behind my hands and, to me, seem to float around my knuckles. The grips change into objects I hold onto or release. Sometimes the controllers feel like the Valve's Index knuckle controllers, which causes me to begin using my entire hand to operate the Quest 2 rather than just 3 fingers. It feels realistic, whether wielding weapons or scaling VR cliffs. Haptics, however, are the real killer. The PS5 DualSense controllers use the same sophisticated haptics technology as the Quest 2 controllers, enabling them to detect minute taps, rippling rumbles, and a variety of other convincing vibrations. The triggers also offer feedback, which is based once more on DualSense's adaptive trigger technology. In Star Wars: Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, pulling the trigger on various weapons reveals that some offer resistance right away while others are simpler to pull. Some have haptics and trigger kickbacks that you can feel. Ledges may begin to seem slippery or hard while being grasped. I came to the conclusion that this was where VR haptics should go moving forward from all the games I tried. The table has been set. Sony's PlayStation VR headset promises to be a significant improvement over the first model. The PSVR 2 not only uses the PS5's more potent hardware, but it also includes a display for each eye, with a far greater resolution. It's also been established that there are quicker refresh rates, a larger field of view, and better tracking and input. PSVR 2 specifications. The headset will reportedly include an OLED display with a total resolution of 4000 by 2040 pixels, or 2000 by 2040 for each eye, just a little bit higher than the Oculus Quest 2. A 110-degree field of view, foveated rendering, a method that uses gaze tracking to produce only specific portions of the image, as well as sensory elements in the headset itself, were also mentioned. The PSVR 2 does, in fact, feature 4K HDR, a 110-degree field of view, foveated rendering, and frame rates of 90 to 120 Hz, according to a latter confirmation from Sony. Inside-out tracking is another feature of PSVR 2, and it allows the headset to monitor both you and your controller. Without the use of an external camera, your emotions and your gaze will be reflected in-game. To produce a more intense sense of immersion, the new sensory elements of PSVR 2 integrate eye tracking, headset feedback, 3D audio, and the PSVR 2 Sense controller. An extra tactile element will be added by a single built-in motor in the headset, which can simulate the player's pulse under stressful situations or the rush of objects going past the player's head. Eye tracking, which enables PSVR 2 to follow your eye motion, will be a particularly welcome addition for VR lovers. For your gaming character, the headset will generate an additional input if you simply stare in that direction. As a result, the experience becomes more intuitive and natural. However, this can result in costs and delays. According to earlier rumors, Sony and Tobii AB, the company that makes the eye-tracking camera Sony is employing for PSVR 2, have not reached an agreement. The cameras made by Tobii are robust devices that are not inexpensive. In comparison, the original PSVR was priced at $399 or £349 at launch without eye-tracking functionality, and its Eye Tracker 5 sells for approximately $230 or £230 alone. The 4K HDR OLED display, 120Hz maximum refresh rate, and enhanced controls all contribute to the potential cost of Sony's new headgear. It's also important to remember that the PSVR 2 headset isn't wireless and only uses one cable to connect to the console. There isn't much longer to wait for the PSVR 2 now that we have a release date after considerable speculation about Sony's plans. It will debut in early 2023, according to Sony via Twitter. More specifically, it appears like PSVR 2 will be released sometime between January and March of the following year. It's possible that this was internally postponed in light of reports that Sony had originally planned on a holiday 2022 release timeframe. Prior to this, we had heard rumors about a 2023 release date, specifically from a PlayStation blog post. This article stated, The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners Chapter 2. Retribution is presently planned to launch to PSVR in late 2022 and PSVR 2 in 2023. The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 is released on both PSVR and PSVR 2. The cost of the PSVR 2 is unknown as of right now. To estimate how much we might have to pay for this new gear, we can look at other VR headsets. Let us know if you think the wait is worth it in the comments section, and do support us by watching another episode. We appreciate you helping us keep it going by watching. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any new updates.